mateys, welcome aboard. It is so good to have you here, because in this episode, we're going to be turning the clock back all the way to the year 1959, and we're going to have a gander at a fun little gem that I've enjoyed for many a year, the Cary Grant World War II comedy, Operation Petticoat.
Mr. Stover, there's only one way to live with this situation. It's like watching a stripteaser. Don't ask how it's done, just enjoy what's coming off.
It's hilarity on the high seas when Cary Grant and his ragtag crew set course for adventure in their pink submarine. And no, that is not a sexual innuendo, they really do have a pink submarine. It was directed by Blake Edwards, who's probably most notable for writing and directing a shit ton of Pink Panther movies. And he also directed the Bruce Willis comedy classic Blind Date, as well as a very little known film called Breakfast at Tiffany's. And joining Cary Grant in this wacky adventure is Tony Curtis, Gavin MacLeod, Marion Ross, and Dick Sargent. You know, the guy who played Darren Stevens in Bewitched? No, not that Darren Stevens, the shitty one. Yeah. So before we begin, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the old subscribe button. And while you're down there, you might as well hit the like button too. And let's get into it, shall we? Now we start the movie off with a wacky little opening credits scene. And then we meet Commander Sherman, who's come to say goodbye to his old ship, the Sea Tiger, before it's set off to be decommissioned.
Good morning, Chief. I just came to look around.
Yes, sir.
All right if I go below?
Oh, certainly, sir.
Who's he?
That's Sherman.
Yeah? Hey, well, what's he doing here at 6 in the morning?
Heard you were aboard and came down personally to make sure that you were comfortable.
If you was the first skipper of the Sea Tiger, and you was the one that had to give the order to send her to the junkyard at 9 this a.m., what would you be doing at 6?
Oh.
Feeling nostalgic, Sherman settles down at a table and he proceeds to reminisce through the old captain's log.
December 1941.
We're then hurtled back in time to Sherman's early days, commanding the Sea Tiger, and right in the middle of an air raid, no less. We see sailors running for their lives while enemy planes fly overhead, bombing the shit out of everything. I did say this was a comedy, didn't I? So anyway, the attack resulted in a shit ton of damage, as well as sinking Sherman's submarine, the Sea Tiger.
Engine room flooded, main induction and ventilation wrecked, torpedo tubes inoperable, all motor controls and reduction gear inoperable, electrical equipment, wiring, gauges, gyro, radio. All you've got out there is a periscope sitting on top of a couple thousand tons of scrap metal.
But Sherman's like, nah, it'll be fine. My boys can get her up and running in no time.
Should we underwater well to Jury patch the hull before pumping her out, or should we raise her first and then work on the hull?
So Captain Henderson gives them 2 weeks to make enough repairs to get her seaworthy so they can get to the nearest submarine repair shop.
Well, that would be the bush now at Darwin. That's almost 2,000 miles of ocean with the Japanese Navy roaming all over it.
Unfortunately for Sherman, he only has a skeleton crew to get things shipshape.
But I'll get you what replacements I can.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And so the dedicated crew of the Sea Tiger get right to work, welding and pumping and bilging. And after 2 weeks, the Sea Tiger is brought back to life, only a little worse for wear. And then we're introduced to a new crew member.
What is it?
Well, I hope I'm wrong, sir, but with that suitcase, I'd say he's one of the replacements.
Oh, no, don't tell me that.
And he and Sherman really seem to hit it off.
Have you ever been to sea?
Yes, sir. Destroyer duty.
How'd you find time for it?
It was a mistake, sir. But a week after I left Honolulu, they got it straightened out.
Who, the Admiral or the Admiral's wife? She must be awfully upset with you stranded out here. That'll probably cost her the Roomba championship this year. Holy man.
The lieutenant then meets some of the other crew.
Lieutenant Nick Holden.
I'm Ernest Hunkle, sir.
Pleasure to meet you.
and then he learns of Sherman's troubles scoring supplies.
So last June when we were here, I requisitioned toilet paper. Now, every time we've been back since, I sent through a follow-up, all according to the book, through channels. I even submitted a sample of the material required. So what happens? The whole works just came back stamped, cannot identify, requisition, cancel.
Take a letter. From Commanding Officer, USS Sea Tiger. Subject, toilet paper. This vessel submitted a requisition for 150 rolls of toilet paper. The requisition was returned with stamped notation, cannot identify material required. The commanding officer of the USS Sea Tiger cannot help but wonder what is being used at the Cavite Supply Depot as a substitute for this unidentifiable material once so well known to this command.
Have you ever been to Las Vegas?
Why?
Well, the boys up there would say you're trying to make your point the hard way. I mean, putting in requisitions, going through channels. You've got to sneak up a few back alleys. What you need, sir, is a supply officer who can help you find those back alleys.
You, Mr. Holden?
Yes, sir.
You'd ruin your manicure.
Don't let my manicure fool you, sir. I was born and raised in a neighborhood called Noah's Ark. If you didn't travel in pairs, you just didn't travel. Why don't you make out your shopping list, sir, and I'll see what's left at the market.
And he begins proving himself useful as the ship's new supply officer.
Put on the lights.
So Holden, along with Gavin McLeod and some other guy, go out later that night and do a little shopping.
Look at it. Gentlemen, I think we hit pay dirt. You've got the list?
Yes, sir.
While rounding up supplies, we learn of Gavin McLeod's good friend Gertie.
When the shooting starts, you turn your back so Gertie won't get splattered.
Who's Gertie?
You mean you don't know about Gertie? Shut up.
Who's Gertie?
Oh, she's really nobody, sir.
Uncle. They ought to hang you in the Louvre.
And just then, security arrives, and it seems like the jig is up.
What's your business here?
I'm working here. Just stepped out for a breath of air.
Let's see your identification.
Certainly.
But Lieutenant Holden, well, he's a sly one, he is.
Why the blackface, sir?
Where's yours, Sergeant? Don't you know the penalty for breaking blackout regulations?
Blackout
Now,
regulations?
don't be coy. You've read the new order from Admiral Nimitz.
No, what order?
Regulation 419A2. No Navy personnel shall appear at night without face camouflage. A plane comes over. You look up. The moonlight bounces off your face, gives away our position. Sergeant, a face like that can cause an awful lot of damage. I'm afraid I'm just going to have to put you on report.
Honest, sir, nobody told me about it.
All right, you've been told. Black out that face, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
And it's back to the ship with fresh supplies.
Look, Malumbre, brand new oil pump shaft.
Congratulations. Looks just like you, Toston.
Along with a fresh new crewman.
I'm very happy to be a member of your crew, sir.
What do you mean, a member of my crew?
Well, sir, I promised the sergeant that if he helped us out, you would take him on.
But he's a Marine.
Well, he's open to a better offer. I'll handle everything.
That man's a prisoner.
He was. You see, the prison stockade was bombed out. You have no idea the trouble I had in finding him.
You mean you actually went looking for him?
Of course, he's the greatest operator around here.
The following day sees Lieutenant Holden, scavenging more supplies.
Mr. Sherman, I'm aware that there's been wholesale scavenging going on. Now, I've tried to overlook it, knowing the position you're in.
Yes, sir.
But this time, you've gone too far. I want my wall back.
Well, I'm not sure we have it, sir.
You must have it. You've got everything else.
Another air raid ensues, and Sherman races back to his ship. But luckily, the Sea Tiger came out unscathed.
Any damage, Stovall?
No direct hit, sir. Concussion may have sprung a few plates in the tank.
Were we spotted?
Yeah. A couple of them came in close enough for us to spit at.
So Sherman requests permission to get underway. But Captain Henderson's a bit reluctant.
You're in no condition to go out.
Sir, we made amazing progress.
Why, she can't even submerge.
Can this boat go down?
Like a rock, sir.
Mr. Watson, how are the plates?
Tight as a drum, sir.
And the engines, Toston?
Factory fresh, sir.
What do you say, sir?
But he eventually gives the go-ahead,
I say take your scavengers and these liars here and get out.
and the Sea Tiger sets off. Eventually. with a little help from the locals.
Get away from my boat! Get away from my...
You'll never make it.
And as sunrise nears, the nervous crew have no choice but to submerge. And as Sherman and his men nervously await what would surely be a terrifying and excruciating death, they're treated to a happy little ditty from one of the crew.
You can't win, my friend. You can't win. You can't win, so why even try? If you're lucky enough to live through today, tomorrow you will die.
But luckily, the ship holds strong and they all survive. Later, Sherman gives Holden a little pep talk regarding ship regulations.
This war must be rather inconvenient for you, eh, Mr. Holden?
I try to make the best of it, sir.
Oh, yes, and you do. Indeed, you do. But here, we all eat together, we all work together, and just so that you won't upset that system, I'm afraid you'll have to do it our way. Now, you've got exactly 3 minutes to get off your fat mattress and get dressed and report to Mr. Watson.
Yes, sir.
You're going to learn something about a submarine if I have to pour it into you intravenously.
He then gives Holden a short tutorial on how submarines work.
Oh, what happens if we can't?
Oh, well, if we can't, then we,
The ship soon arrives at Miranda Cay Island. And after he's sent out to gather more supplies, Holden returns with the mother load. Or rather, a load of mothers.
Women! Wow! That's what I call scavenging.
And Sherman's not really too keen about it.
They were the only American personnel on the island, sir. You couldn't possibly leave them there.
Thank you. Well, Major, it's obvious that we'll have to get out of here as soon as we can, so, if you'll take your party below, I'll get you as far as Cebu, where you can rejoin an Army unit.
And with some lovely new passengers, the ship departs again. Meanwhile, Dick Sargent shows the ladies around.
Your shower period will be between 06:30 and 06:50. You will each be allowed 1.5 minutes.
A minute and a half?
Now, how can you shower in a minute and a half?
Well, what you miss one day, you can get the next time around.
And later, while Lieutenant Holden tries to get his swerve on, old Sherman shows up to cockblock him.
Well.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Oh, Lieutenant Holden was just giving me his clothes.
Well, that's certainly worth drinking to, but unfortunately, regulations.
And while Sherman's trying to enjoy a nice shower...
No, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That's a clever shower schedule you got worked out, sir. Conserves water, too.
Trouble arises in the engine room.
There's a woman in my engine room. We gotta get that woman out of my engine.
Well, who, Doctor?
The Major. She washed her clothes and hung them up there to dry. Stockings and everything. It's bad luck to have a woman in the engine room.
Tustin, what harm can their clothes do?
Hey, that's when they're the most dangerous. They're like snakes. When they shed their skin, look out.
Trying to enjoy his coffee, hilarity ensues for poor Sherman.
I think I left my cigarette here. Did you see it?
Perhaps.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, that's all right, Lieutenant. I enjoy a cigarette with my coffee.
And if there weren't enough problems on the ship, half the crew has come down with a mysterious illness.
Got a headache.
Williams?
My back hurts. My stomach.
What's wrong?
Oh, I don't know, sir. I feel terrible.
You smell good. What about you, Harmon?
Oh, I have these shooting pains in my head, sir.
Probably the fumes from that hair tonic. Well, what's the matter, Dooley?
Well, he seems to have
Just a minute.
I don't know, sir. I only hope I can last the day out.
Oh. Up, Dooley! Thank you, ladies. They won't be needing you anymore. The epidemic's over.
And then it's back to the engine room where the chief has finally had enough.
It's either her or me in this engine room.
It works. You're just too stubborn to admit it.
Get that thing out of my engine room.
And a short time later, we learn that Captain Stubing had been violently assaulted by Marlowe McGivers from Star Trek.
What happened?
It was nothing at all, really, sir.
Then why did you hit him?
Well, it's my fault, sir. See, I was changing my shirt.
No, I went in to borrow the typewriter.
I had my shirt off, sir. That's when she hit me.
Well, it was just a reflex action. I was embarrassed, and, if you'll excuse me.
Look, Hungo, keep that pin-up chest of yours covered. I've got enough trouble.
Wait a second. Star Trek versus Love Boat? That gives me an idea.
Set a course for love. Exciting and
The crew are then thrilled when they spot an enemy vessel and finally get the chance to blow the shit out of something.
Wow, a tanker. Oh, she's a beaut. All right, let's go duck hunting.
Down, go.
Unfortunately, on the Sea Tiger, everything always seems to go tits up.
Lieutenant, get below. Damn it, get below! We sunk a truck. 23 December 1941. Sighted tanker, sank truck. Today, for the first time in my life, I came close to hitting a woman. Perhaps I'm giving way to hysteria, but can Lieutenant Crandall possibly be a Japanese agent?
Sherman and crew arrive at Cebu, where they try handing off the ladies to the Army.
I can't possibly take responsibility for those women. Not without the proper orders.
Couldn't we forget regulations just this once, Colonel?
Commander, anytime the Japanese are ready, they're going to overrun this island. We've been ordered to coordinate guerrilla action in the hills. We may be up there for years. Now, do you really want us to take those women?
But it looks like they're stuck with them. And also, the ship is again in desperate need of supplies, so Sherman reluctantly sends Holden out to do what he does best.
Yes, we've run into some difficulties. I have to have those supplies.
That's quite a list, sir.
And so, in pure Holden fashion, he opens a casino to acquire the parts he needs.
Inverted reducing valve. $250. Next. What do you got, sir?
Later that night, Holden and McLeod get into some more mischief.
What do we do? All right, I'm gonna go around the back. Go in the front and distract them. Shh. Ow, ow. Talk, big talk. Come on.
Looks like a wheelbarrow.
And after a hasty getaway, they head back to the ship, only to be stopped by a roadblock. But luckily, Holden's got it covered.
What about this pig? Take off your coat. Take off my coat. Take off your coat. Put it on the pig. Put it on the pig. Put it on the pig. You got a cap? You got a cap? Yes, sir. Take it out. Good evening, Corporal.
What are you doing out here?
I'm Lieutenant Holden off the submarine the Sea Tiger. We're tied up for repairs. We were out trying to locate some spare diesel parts.
What's that?
Oh, that was Seaman Hornsby. How are you feeling, Seaman Hornsby? He's not too well.
Well, you better get this man to your doctor.
Thank you.
Let him pass. 3 sailors off of a sub. Guy named Hornsby was sick. You should have seen him. Now I know why they call them submarines pig boats.
And now it's time to paint the ship. But given the lack of paint on the island, the crew is forced to improvise.
right, you guys. You got 3 hours to have yourself a Happy New Year. But at 1700, every man on this crew starts painting her gray.
And then the crew celebrate New Year's with a triumphant feast.
This pork looks great. Aren't you going to have any, sir?
No. Hornsby and I went through too much together.
Sherman then goes to have a chat with Dolores. You know, the clumsy bitch that sank a truck.
Captain, you may not believe this, but all of those things that happened were accidents.
Oh, I'm sure they were. If I've been short-tempered with you, I want to apologize. We'll both go up together and celebrate. Is that all right?
It's wonderful.
Good. Let's forget everything that happened and start the new year off right. You go right.
And then another air raid spoils the celebration, and the Sea Tiger is forced to flee. But not before they take on more passengers.
See, sir, if they helped us out, we take the women and children off the island.
Those two women are pregnant! Look!
Yes, sir. Any minute now, sir.
And as night falls, the Sea Tiger welcomes a bundle of joy into the world.
It's a boy!
Congratulations, sir!
We then tune into everybody's favorite radio station of the 1940s, good old Tokyo Rose.
Before our next number, I have a message for the crew of that pink submarine cruising somewhere in the Celebes Sea. Fellas, start the new year off right. Surrender. We don't know what you're up to, but it won't work. All you've done painting yourself pink is make it easier for us to find you. So why die, boys? And now an appropriate number.
Just check with British, Australian, and Dutch naval units, sir. They have no pink submarines.
And it's certainly not one of ours.
Intelligence feels the Tokyo Rose broadcast is a decoy, so they can slip one of their own subs through.
Well, this is one trick they won't get away with. Notify all Allied naval units. Any unidentified submarine, pink or otherwise, is to be sunk on sight.
And now Sherman and his men are hunted by both sides. The Sea Tiger then spots an Allied ship and tries to hail them.
It's one of ours.
But the warship's not having it.
Surface action port.
Surface action port.
Fire when ready.
Fire when ready.
Holy mackerel!
And as the Sea Tiger gets the shit depth charged out of it, Sherman devises a brilliant strategy.
Captain, off the port bow, more debris. Japanese have nothing like this. Cease fire!
And soon, the Sea Tiger returns to the cheers of their naval brethren.
Captain, this is going to be terrible. We should have come in at night.
Too late, Chief. We're already committed. Have your men fall in.
Yes, sir. All right. Fall in.
We may be pink and coming in by the grace of a woman's brassiere, but we're coming in.
And now years later, while Sherman reminisces, Holden and his happy family arrive, and we learn that Holden will be taking over as captain of a new Sea Tiger.
Well, there's a new atomic sub coming off the ways in about a month. It's the same name, Sea Tiger. She's your next command.
And then we're soon joined by Sherman's clumsy-ass wife.
Hey! Hey, Tyler! The bumpers are hurt! Hey!
And then Sherman bids farewell to his beloved Sea Tiger.
Strange. Still that number one engine. I guess they were never able to fix that.
And that was Operation Petticoat, a fun and whimsical good time for all. It had a box office of $9 million, which in 1959 was like $1 trillion. In fact, it was actually the highest grossing film of Cary Grant's career. In fact, the movie was such a hit that it actually spawned a very short-lived television series starring John Astin, as well as a very young Jamie Lee Curtis. Wait a second. Tony Curtis was in the movie. Jamie Lee was in the show. Wow. What an amazing coincidence. But all in all, I consider Operation Petticoat to be ranked right up there in the upper echelon of great wartime comedy dramas, right next to Stalag 17, MASH, and Down Periscope. So until next time, folks, this is me to you, wishing you all the best, and reminding you to always keep it real. Bye-bye.